What's going on, people? The results for the official My Hero Academia popularity poll have finally been released for 2021, and in this video we'll be going through the rankings to see whether each character deserved their place. In the rankings last year, we got some pretty bizarre results, with Shindo being the 9th most popular character in the series, despite not actually appearing in the manga or anime in 2020. For 2021, I've got the list of the top 20 characters as voted for by fans in Japan, and as we continue the video, I'll be revealing where they place on this newest poll. Okay, so the 20th most popular character in My Hero Academia is Jiro. Now, in terms of what she's done this year, in the manga, she didn't really do too much that I can remember. In the anime, though, she was part of Bakugou's team that absolutely destroyed Class 1B. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was the quickest match in the entire joint training arc. Didn't even last a full episode. And yeah, I guess that was her main thing this year. And the same thing can be said for the person in 19th place, which was Sero. In the manga, he didn't really have an individual moment, but in the anime, he was part of that amazing team that just, like I said, destroyed Class 1B. Moving on to 18th place, we have a character who is so underrated by the fans in Japan. Like, I honestly can't believe how underrated this person is, and that is Shigaraki. Yes, the main villain of the series is somehow in 18th. Like, I cannot believe he's not even in the top 10. It's ridiculous, especially after the year he's had. We saw it in the anime, he had his awakening, he had such an important development. And then in the manga, you know, he killed America's #1 hero. He stole her quirk, although, you know, it didn't go to plan, but still, he did a bunch of crazy things, and yet he's so underrated. It just doesn't make any sense. I guess the one thing you could say is that for most of this year, technically speaking, Shigaraki has not really been himself. I guess you could argue that All For One has really been in control of his body for the most part, so we haven't really seen the true Shigaraki this year, so that is a fair argument, but still, he should at least be top 10 in my opinion. Now, for the second year in a row, Shindo is ahead of Shigaraki. Like, I don't know how this keeps happening, honestly I don't. It's funny though, because last year, like I said in the intro, he didn't actually make an appearance in the anime or the manga, but after his amazing result in the popularity poll, Horikoshi did, you know, shoehorn him into the manga, and he had a fight against Muscular where he got beaten pretty quickly. Although, when Deku beat Muscular, he mentioned something about how Muscular was slightly weaker. It was heavily implied that Shindo weakened Muscular so that Deku could just beat him. In 16th place, we have Darby. And what did he do this year? I'm trying to remember. Obviously, last year he had the massive reveal of him being Toy Todoroki. And in the beginning of this year, we found out his backstory actually. I'm pretty sure it was like the first chapter of the year. So since then, he hasn't really done much. He's been in the background a lot. The main focus of the villains has naturally been on Shigaraki and All For One. But I imagine in 2022, he will get that big fight against Endeavor and Shoto. So I'm sure next year he will likely be higher than 16th place. In 15th place, we have Kaminari. In the anime, he did have that one moment where, during the joint training arc, he kind of like used himself as bait and almost like sacrificed himself in a way. And by doing that, he distracted Class 1B and got all their attention on him so that Shinzo and Froppy and the rest of them could all excel. So yeah, that was a good moment from him. But besides that, this year, not really much else, but I guess he's just a popular character regardless because he's just, you know, lovable, so it makes sense why he would be ranked so highly. Now in 14th we had Momo. There was a funny moment with Momo this year that I tweeted about. It was when Class 1A was trying to capture Deku and they were trying to, like, you know, get him to come back to UA. Momo created this like mask to put him to sleep, and obviously that would have taken hours, right? Because whatever she creates, she has to know how it works. So she would have researched this device, she would have done a lot of preparation, and then she would have made it, and then in 1 second, Deku just like flicked his neck and destroyed the whole thing. I thought that was pretty funny, just because she would have put so much effort into it, and he just literally, like I said, flicked his neck and destroyed it. But who else have we got? Who's after Momo? It is All Might. All Might had an interesting year. For a large part of it, he was following Deku around in his Batmobile, and then finally, after years, he got that meeting with Stain. And another interesting thing about All Might is that after his meeting with Stain, it genuinely seemed like he's ready to be a hero again. Not necessarily like a, you know, what he was, but it seems like he's actually going to try and help out during this fight against All For One. And given that in the past we've gotten art of him, you know, wearing a cape and like he's trying to be a hero again, I feel like in 2022 he will help the kids. And even though he's quirkless, he will still be contributing to defeating Shigaraki. In 12th place, we have Ocako. Now, her highlight of the year is definitely her getting Deku back into UA, because as we all know, after they retrieved Deku from the public and brought him back to the school, all of the civilians were just against the idea of bringing him back because, you know, Deku is All For One's target. So if they bring Deku back, then naturally All For One's going to try and destroy the school or try and break his way into the school. So it took some convincing, and Ocako was the main person who, you know, argued with the civilians and told them why they need to let Deku back in. So that was her standout moment of the year. In 11th place, we have Endeavor. This year was so funny for Endeavor. He was basically going on an apology tour. Like, in the beginning of the year, he was apologizing to the public. Then he apologized to his family. Then he apologized to the students. Like, he just has a lot to be sorry for. And in the anime, obviously, he apologized to Natsuo. Whatever medium you're looking at, he was just apologizing to someone. Now, in 10th place is Shinzo, who had a huge year when it came to the anime. He was featured very heavily in the joint training arc. He was the only student to fight in 2 separate matches. And, you know, it was pretty hype because it had been a long time since Shinzo appeared in the anime. I mean, he hadn't really had a significant appearance since season 2, which was ages ago. So a lot of anime watchers who didn't read the manga, they would have been like just so happy to see him again. And, you know, I definitely was. So yeah, Shinzo in the top 10, it works. It makes sense. The character in 9th place was actually Brody from the World Heroes Mission movie. Now, I have not seen the movie as in making this video. Yeah, I know, I should have seen it by now. But in my defense, I did buy 2 tickets to go see World Heroes Mission. I did go to the cinema to see it, but I wasn't allowed in because I brought my brother who was 12 years old, or who is 12 years old, and the movie is a 15. I didn't realize that when I bought the ticket, so we weren't allowed in. I mean, technically speaking, I could have gone in without him, but that would have just been mean. So haven't been back to the cinema since then. You guys let me know, is Brody a good character? I know that he has this little, he has this tiny bird that goes with him, and that's his quirk. But yeah, I can't really say anything because I haven't seen the movie. Anyway, in 8th place, we have Present Mike. There was only one time I remember seeing him, and that was when they brought Deku back to UA and he was trying to like calm down a few of the civilians. Besides that, I don't know if he really appeared in the manga. I don't even remember besides that time. But obviously, in the anime, the whole Shirokuma reveal, that was intense. It was very well done. And I guess that explains his position in the top 10. In 7th place is Izawa, who literally I could say the exact same thing. Izawa has been out of action for the entire year. And that is because during the war arc, he lost an eye and he lost a foot. So he has a metal foot now and he has an eye patch. Going up to 6th place, we have Tenya. And his highlight of the year is the moment when he reached out to Deku, grabbed his hand, and I felt like that moment was kind of like Horikoshi signifying how important Ida is to the story. This moment wasn't the only time he was a leader as well, because there was, of course, the other time when they were searching for Deku in the first place, and he was the one arguing with Nezu like, we need to go after him, we need to go get Deku and bring him back. Transitioning to the top 5 now, we have Hawks in 5th place, and, you know, similar to Darby, Hawks had a chapter dedicated to his backstory at the beginning of the year, but since then we haven't seen that much of him. We did get a few moments here and there when he was asking questions about Midoriya, and there was that time when he helped Lady Nagant as well. So, you know, he hasn't been missing. We have seen him here and there. It's just that his presence hasn't been as significant as it was when we were doing the whole, you know, infiltration of the Metal Liberation Army. Up in 4th place, we had Kirishima, and just being real, this was not Kirishima's year. I mean, in the manga, he did not have a single individual moment that I can remember, and in the anime, you know, the joint training arc, it was just not good to him. So, does anyone else remember a big highlight from this year for Kirishima? If you do, let me know in the comments down below, but I personally don't remember him having like a really good moment. Going into the top 3, if you've been paying attention to these polls in the last few years, you already know what the order of this is. As it always is, it's Shoto in 3rd place. Yeah. So for Shoto this year, his highlight, I think it came in World Heroes Mission. Now, as I said earlier, I haven't seen the movie, but I do know a few things that happened, and I did see the trailer. Shoto was doing some pretty cool looking things. In Season 5 too, we had the whole Endeavor Agency storyline and them going back to his house for dinner. So yeah, Shoto had some spotlight this year in the anime and in the movie, And in the manga, he was a bit like pretty much the rest of Class 1A in that they were just trying to find Deku. So yeah, you can't really say much else. The top two, Deku and Bakugou, it has been that way, I'm pretty sure, since the very first poll ever. So I don't think that's going to change no matter what anyone else does. And I think the order of where they place, you know, Deku and Bakugou, I don't think there's anything that can happen that would change that order either. Because in second place, as has happened for the last 1,000,000 years in a row, we have Deku. Now this year was perhaps his best case for not coming second place, because he had a whole arc basically to himself. I mean, it wasn't that long, but it was still, you know, significant. And in that storyline, Deku was just, you know, he left UA, he was out there fighting villains from the past. You know, he fought Muscular, he fought Overhaul. I mean, he didn't really fight Overhaul, but Overhaul was there. And Deku just had a whole change in his demeanor. He became a lot more ruthless. I felt like this whole storyline might have been enough to put him in first, because it was just like him out there in the city doing his thing, and being essentially acting like the #1 hero. And I say that because, you know, he was beating villains that I'm sure Endeavor would have struggled to beat Muscular. I'm sure Endeavor would have struggled to beat Lady Nagant. You know, it wouldn't have been easy. So Deku was, you know, he was fulfilling the role that a #1 hero would fulfill, just beating down these powerful villains all the time. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think Deku deserved first place this year? I feel like he definitely had more of a chance this year than he did last year. But the fans in Japan, they just are in love with Bakugou. When it comes to Bakugou, his highlight of the year would definitely be him apologizing to Deku for like the bullying and the childhood trauma. That was definitely a long time coming. It was overdue for sure. So it was good that we got that moment in 2021. In terms of his other highlights for the year, I guess, as is the case with Sero and Jiro as well, they had the joint training arc where they blitzed Class 1B. What else did he do? I mean, he was in a few other arcs as well, wasn't he? Like the Endeavor Agency. I'd say, though, the main thing was the apology to Deku. That was just so significant. But in terms of everything else, it was nothing too crazy. And that's kind of one of the reasons I felt like this year Deku should have had a good chance to beat him. But I guess that apology was, yeah, it was enough. It was enough to get that first place once again. Also, before I end the video, I completely forgot to mention, Deku unlocked 2 quirks this year. He unlocked the Smoke quirk from the 6th user, and he also unlocked the Far-Jin quirk from the 3rd user. He put them to good use. You know, the way he was combining all of them, especially during the fight with Lady Nagant, that was pretty amazing. Just something I forgot to mention, so I thought I would put it in at the end. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed watching this video, then be sure to drop a like and hit that sub button if you want to see yearly content like this, because I do this once a year now, I guess. If you haven't seen my video that I did last year, then do check it out. It's in the description below. And until the next one, peace out.